bit about the research that he did on women for the G20. So, Harvey, without further ado, the microphone is yours, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Finn, for this nice introduction. So, and thank you for showing up at 10 a.m. and going through all the steps to be here. You obviously wanted to be here. And I realize when I look at you that the audience has many more women than men, which is quite interesting based on the topic I will address this morning. So first, a few words about Ipsos. We are a market research company. We survey the world. We provide analysis on markets, people, and societies. And we are pretty large because we are in 90 countries around the world. So we do this activity in several markets, and we grew along the years. Several of our colleagues are here today, and I thank them very much, all women. And I wanted to add one thing is that my colleague Jennifer Huber was due to present today, but she had to move for another meeting in Paris, or we could have done a duo, a gender parity duo this morning. But this morning I will present this survey and these findings. This is based on my role inside Ipsos, which is also to cover what we call public affairs, which is all which is related to societies, political movements, evolutions of perceptions in the world. In broad general terms, all the needs, not only from public institutions around the world, but also more and more the needs of corporations and institutions and NGOs. And we do a lot of work in that kind of fields. And today I present an example of this work, which we did in partnership with the Women's Forum, and which we did already last year, and we did another version of this survey this year, to analyze the situation and perception of the gaps and the difficulties women can encounter around the world, the implication of the COVID on these situations, and some light of hope and actions, a call to action, which I think is an interesting, energizing, and I hope motivating message. So I will cover different aspects, as we do very often in our world. I will present some basic facts about the methods we use to produce these findings, and outline some examples of major topics and conclusions, go through what we found through the COVID implications, what expectations people declare in their responses, and some words and probably Q&A in the end on what we can do and who can do something, because it's not all about public institutions. So the program was executed this summer, between July and beginning of August. We surveyed 500 people in 19 countries, the G20 being composed with the addition of the European Unions. You have the list of these countries on this document. It was an interview which is done online with the panels we run around the world, and with a sampling method, which is called quota method, which enabled to have representative coverage of the individuals in these different countries. You have here more details about the list of countries, all the 19, covering some countries in Asia, in Europe, North America, and South America. What are the perceptions of gender inequalities we put in evidence through this program? They are actually quite striking. Here we ask people about their perception of whether women have less or not less chances in different areas. So first, there is a rather broad perception that women have overall less chances, because 67% of the people we interviewed quoted one of these elements at least. And whether it's to succeed in business, with 47 of people declaring that women have less chances, or to work in the field of AI, very consistent with the main interests of this Web Summit, For the most sought after professions in the future, we see, and even being in good health, we see two things. First, there is, by and large, rather high level of concern that women have less chances. And second, and you can see this on the right with the green arrow we put on the top, we see that the perception there are less chances is high overall, but is higher for women than for men in all these topics. There are some differences across countries. That just an overview, but we see, for instance, that some countries it's reasonably higher than in others. For instance, in particular in Italy, perception that women have less chances to succeed in business and work in the professions of the future. And we could go through this in more detail, but there are differences which are related, of course, of the situations of these countries, but also related to the mindsets of people in these different countries. The perception of the gap in chances are so vivid that actually we have more than 1/3 of people who say that in their country, that's on the left side, in your country, it will never happen to achieve equality between men and women. More than 1/3. And even worse, when they are asked about how they think it would go for the rest of the world, it's close to 1/2. If we ask people how long they think it will take to get these results, the delays are quite long, and again, more concerning for the world globally than for your own country, 16 years in average, or 26 years for the global perception. And there is only a very, very small proportion of the people, 13% in their country and 7%, that it's already the case in the world, we say that it's already the case that there is equality chances between men and women. So it's a rather shared and a strong perception that there is a problem. However, even if people share the fact that they see this as a problem, there is a broad perception that it would benefit everybody if women had the same opportunities as men in their professional life. And I come back to this because there are several angles about this. It would benefit everybody, benefit in the companies, in the corporations, but also benefit in different fields of society. And you see this, society as a whole, 80%. And again, we see, you have again the same green arrow, that the perception is higher for men than for women, than for men. For society as a whole, for the economic growth, employment, and overall wages, that everybody would benefit from an increase in the equality. Similarly, there is the perception that women have less access to men to leadership positions, and that's what you see on the first bar of this slide, across the access to the board of directors, senior management, leadership position, large companies, less chances, and again, women more pessimistic than men or more realistic than men. Access to the same level of salaries, similarly 58%, a majority, but also rather close to 1/2 a number of people talking about access for professional training and financial investment to start their own businesses. So clearly a majority in different fields of perception showing that women have less access than men to leadership positions and opportunities. How would this be beneficial? Here's a focus on companies, on business and employees. For the ability to innovate, 81%, and again, more for women than for men. Company reputation and public image, employee well-being, attraction of talents, the key topics for CEOs, professional developments, business growth, anywhere all across the board, there is this perception that even if there is a gap and some improvement to make, there is a large consensus that it would be beneficial in different fields for employees and corporations and companies. And not only that, but it's broader than the borders or the threshold, the walls of a company. It would involve, it would be good to involve in the transformation of the society. It It would have a positive impact on society and on economic growth, 86%, again 83, 89 for the men and women. Increase the number of people who can use digital applications and AI tools, etc. So I think it's probably a broad general feeling. I think we should read this with a certain precaution, that there is this expectation that not only there is a gap, that it is the right thing to do, that it would benefit to companies and employees, but also it would have an effect on the society overall. So there is clearly an aspiration that efforts need to be undertaken to achieve better equality. However, there is also a perception that the pandemic has aggravated the situation. And it is something which we see in different fields. There are lots of information on this slide. I wanted to focus on the burnout, anxiety, and depression, and you have this red horizontal arrow, which shows the data about this answer. Again, 69% of women would declare having experienced this situation and consequences, and it's again higher than the men all across the board, as you can see. So the fear for the future, high overall, even higher for women. The fear of going to hospitals, same. There is also a high level and this gap. So there is undoubtedly this perception that the pandemic has aggravated the situation, whether it's because of the pressure to run the family life, to have to experience the burden of different tasks simultaneously. The lockdowns, which have had also some big impact on a certain number of women around the world. The fear, the load of anxiety, the mental burden felt by keeping everybody safe along the pandemics. And as we see here, more impactful for women than for men, even if everybody has been struck by this. And it is a shared feeling, very broadly, and again, more by women than men across the board, that the pandemic and its consequences will increase the gender inequality in one's country. So that could be a rather gloomy evidence, a rather depressing perception, and it is that the pandemic has aggravated the situation, and more so that the consequence of the pandemic could continue to aggravate the situation. But there is also a call to action. There is a hope. There is a close to a willingness. It is seen closing the gender gap is really shared as an important priority, and an inclusive economy is an expectation from the respondents we interviewed. And again, the men and women share this with a higher proportion, however, for the women once again. So more than 8 people think that closing the gender gap, designing an inclusive economy should be an important priority. This is what we call the call to action. And this is also, a bit different across some countries. You see here that not everyone is at 84%. There are some ups and downs, but it is quite high all across the board. We have some, special high cases: India, Turkey, Mexico, etc. It thinks it not only is an important, but a very important priority. Then about the measures to take. Again, it's a very, very high level of approval that actions must be taken. Whether it is, I've highlighted 2 of them here, but you see all the numbers from the top to the bottom are very high numbers. Again, you see this gap between men and women. But creating lifelong opportunities for everyone to access STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, skills training. We are in the Web Summit here. We are in a congress, in a meeting where it's one of the central topics and field for many of the visitors in this event. There is a large expectation that situation should be improved and measures should be taken to favor the access of women to this field and kind of disciplines. The commitment from companies to achieve gender equality at all levels in their AI, artificial intelligence teams. We know there is some way to go there, but it's also a shared expectation that action should be taken. It's again an example of the call to action. Another list of items where once again we see a high level, even 78% for the lowest one is still very, very high. Establish targets for universities to enroll at least 40% girls on their STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics courses, consistent with what I showed earlier. So I focus deliberately here on the field which covers the STEM and the AI domains, but it's shared across the board. There is clearly an expectation and a call to action. Even more, regarding cooperation, there is a pretty high level of support for the fact that quotas for women in management boards of companies are required, even if some people can be aware that there might be some possible negative side effects. It is required because things will not change on their own, because it may encourage competent women because their professional merit is no longer retained. It may be detrimental to men's job, yes, to a certain extent, but overall there is a very positive perception that quotas would be a good thing. And I wanted to conclude by this because I think we see in the trends of society that there is beyond the role of public institutions an increasing perception that social movements, influencers, respectable people who speak out, take action and contribute to the change. So I think it can rely to everyone to make an impact, including in corporations. This is an effort I think many companies have started to undertake, having an improvement in their access to gender parity at all levels of the organization. It happens that Ipsos received an award a few days ago for the actions we had taken, which we just received in Paris last week. But I think it relies not only of the society in general, but on corporations and ultimately in everyone. And this is what I wanted to share today, that even if there is this perception that there is a gap and that there are some obstacles, that the pandemic has aggravated the situation, there is also an underlying expectation, which what I call the call to action, to take action, and that in the end, everybody can take action. That's what I wanted to share with you. I'm available with my colleagues to answer all your questions, and of course have some, I was told that we should keep some Q&A time for Q&A and debate. So we are all yours to answer your questions. And I'm very pleased I could speak in front of you of this very important matter. Thank you very much.